Dr. Aristotle, it's so great to have you back here on We Are the Soil for Take 2. Thank you so much for your patience with all the technology glitches, and we're so thrilled to have you on We Are the Soil. So
Good morning.
So just to give the folks here a little bit of background about who you are and what kind of practice you have. This is Dr. Aristotle Economou of Beverly Hills. He also has a secondary practice up in Northern California. But let's hear a little bit from him about who he is and what he does in his practice. Go for it, Doc.
Well, I've been in practice over 25 years, and the pinnacle of my career happened when I ended up with an autoimmune issue back in 2006. I was in private practice, and within a few short months, I experienced what actually turned my life upside down. I started losing my balance. I wasn't able to move as freely, and then I found myself completely paralyzed, only able to move my eyes and my hands at the wrists.
That's great. That's crazy. How long were you like that?
Yeah, it was crazy. I ended up in the hospital. I was there for 72 days.
Wow.
And then sent home basically in an electric wheelchair and told that, I've got to find a different career. I won't be able to walk again. And, sorry, there's nothing more we can do for you.
And they told you it was autoimmune?
What's that?
Did they tell you it was autoimmune?
Yeah, they initially thought it was Lou Gehrig's and then MS, and they went through the gambit. And, my immune system was attacking my muscle tissue. I weighed a healthy 165 pounds. I got down to 115, 120 pounds within just a few short months. And
Wow.
And so I had to really, reevaluate where I was, what I was doing. I had to look at things from a different perspective. I had to take a good shift in my life, because the direction I was going, I was full of pride. I was full of ego. I had all these things going on. And let me tell you, when you look in the mirror and you see this happening, it's a wake-up call.
Oh, yeah,
so
definitely.
That's what I do today is people that are in those types of situations, they're told nothing more can be done. There is something, because a person's diagnosis is not the end of the line.
Yeah, and obviously now you're up and walking and you're very healthy and, have gained all your weight back and everything. So what did you do to heal yourself? And how did you get out of a wheelchair?
I had to find, what I coined in terms of the 3 T's. I had to find the weakness in terms of my thoughts, my past traumas, and the toxicities in my system. So the first step was to identify those weaknesses and strengthen them. I already had a background on what to do, but it was a matter of finding, the root cause. And back then, in 2006, heavy metals were not a thing. And I did some additional lab testing and so forth, and that was a contributing factor. But it was the full gamut, because sometimes I'm asked, what's the one thing that you did that really changed it? And you know what? It was a combination of things.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am today, helping people with these autoimmune issues and so forth. And now we've got this whole virus issue happening, and people are scared, they're panicked. And so here we are today in our discussion.
Right. Well, I wanted to talk to you today about immune health, gut health, and how it relates to COVID-19 and people protecting themselves. But before we do that, I'd like to just talk about people with underlying conditions and autoimmune, like myself. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition years ago. I don't necessarily believe that I'm dealing exclusively with an autoimmune condition. I believe it's a virus that triggered an autoimmune symptom. And I still believe that. There's so much that we don't know about viruses, right? But people that have autoimmune conditions, what should they be doing in a time like this, whenever their immune system could potentially be targeted by COVID-19?
Well, the first thing that people should understand is how the virus works in terms of dealing with an autoimmune issue or just an immune issue in general. Because, when you're sick, you get tired, okay? Mm-hmm. And the reason you're tired is because your immune system is working to deal with whatever health problem, in this case, a virus, or if it's a bacterial infection, what have you. And that tiredness is a side effect. In your body, the troops, if you will, are in there doing what they do. Mother Nature gave us one heck of a system that's powerful and has that innate healing response. However, when you put in fear or panic into the system, the immune system shuts down and your body tries to deal with that fear, because we were made to have this fight or flight response. If we're being chased by a bear, or the old, originally in terms of life, these emergency situations, we have blood flow going away from our gut. We have blood flow going out to the extremities. The immune system is not going to deal with the virus you have. It's going to deal with closing down to get you out of the bad situation.
So you're basically saying your thoughts are more important necessarily than anything. How you view something.
Right. And what's causing those thoughts to panic or to have fear? So if you look around your environment as you're sitting here listening to this, did you just watch the news? Did you just watch that post on social media that caused panic? Because the way that it's being presented now with the virus is that this corona issue is equated with death.
Right.
Nothing in between. Nothing in terms of strengthening the immune system. Nothing in terms of recovery. The numbers, depending on what you look at and what you research, are scattered. So if you're constantly bombarding your system with this fight or flight response due to fear or panic, you will suppress your immune system whether you're healthy or not.
Wow.
So if you have an autoimmune issue, which is already in a weakened state, or you have, say, cancer, or you have any of these other types of health problems, your immune system can't deal with it, and it's dealing with the fear, the panic, and everything else that you're integrating. For example, when somebody has an organ transplant, to shut down the immune system, they give the patient stress hormones. Mm-hmm. Just as you manufacture these stress hormones when you watch the news, when you watch social media that are talking about the bad things. When I was going through my health issue, I was scared to death. I was in the ICU, and all that fear was doing nothing for me. And once I was able to calm that down
by watching your thoughts, is that what you were doing?
What's that?
So were you watching your thoughts? Is that how you first made a difference?
Not in the beginning.
It sounds like you need to be pretty aware.
Yeah, in the beginning, I just tailspin. I listened to what the doctors were saying. I listened to what everybody was telling me. I was listening to the gloom and doom and the poor potential outcome, and on and on.
Kind of like what's happening now with COVID.
Right. There's too much panic. There's no balance.
Right.
Because one thing that I did learn is that, the positive thinking of always being up, you'll come back down at some point. I had positive thinking in terms of, I'm going to walk today. I'm going to walk today. I'm going to walk today. And every single day I woke up disappointed because I had that affirmation. However, I do believe in balanced thinking. I look at the situation, I see it what it is on both sides, and I stay neutral. When I started to stay neutral, I began to heal. The healing response really came about because instead of thinking, I'm going to walk, I was thinking, I am now walking. I put myself in the act as if mode.
The vibration. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because thoughts create a vibration. That vibration creates reality, right?
Exactly. What you think about you bring about. So I surrounded myself with thoughts of, I am now walking. I am now not an elevated emotion and not a depressed emotion, right in the middle. That balanced thinking really, really helped get me through and allowed the healing process to take place.
It reminds me of presence. It reminds me of what you're speaking of, reminds me of simple mindfulness. It's like whenever you're meditating, your thoughts tend to want to bring you back to a past memory or into the future of what you need to do. But the valuable part of meditation is whenever you're able to just be with what is in the moment, even if you don't agree with it, or your ego wants something different. It sounds to me like you came sort of, to your own sense of presence and mindfulness by through survival technique.
Right. And the thing is, I was fortunate that I had nothing else to do. I was stuck in a bed. I couldn't move, and I had no choice.
Kind of like
that's where people are today.
Right. Kind of like being stuck in our homes. I mean,
right.
I was just thinking this morning how absolutely grateful I am for this opportunity to do a lot of things that have been on my to-do list for a long time, including meditating longer each day and, all these things. In the midst of an uncertain and, somewhat traumatic experience for some people, I definitely feel like it's given me personally a lot of time to be more present than I ever have. I can actually hear the wild parrots here in Venice Beach for the first time ever. Things like that where you can just really appreciate the moment, I think is the beauty of what's come out of this.
Right. And that's one of the biggest comments that I will hear with patients is when I give them homework or tasks to do to support the healing process, whether it's by telephone or in person, the comment is, I don't have time. I understand I can do this. I understand. I know I have to drink more water, but I have to keep running to the bathroom, which breaks up my day and so forth and so forth. Well, now this is an opportunity to get back on track. Don't put it off because it's an advantage, right? Where you're not as busy as you normally would be. You can't do anything. So why not focus on your health, hit the reset button, right?
And how important do you think gut health and what you eat is to your immune system?
Well, the thing about gut health is, remember, when you suppress the immune system through fear, through panic, as I mentioned, the blood flow has to get to the legs and the arms. It's taking it away from digestion. It's taking the blood flow away from gut health because the blood vessels are constricting. So you can take every supplement there is. You can start eating right. You can do all these things, organic and so forth. But if you are not filtering what's going into your system, it's still going to be a problem. Of course, you get some benefit of what you're doing.
Filtering in the means of censoring what it is, the media that you're taking in, and observing your thoughts and transforming those thoughts from, fear to faith, that type of thing.
And yes, and to censor it is just turn off the news.
Right.
I mean, just turn it off.
Yeah.
You don't have to be inundated. If you want to, find out what's going on or something, okay, then you read a few sentences or here and there, but get rid of it. Start integrating the funny, comedy, inspirational types of things. See, whatever, in terms of listeners, everybody has a different inspiration. So whatever that is for you, people say, well, I don't know what I'm inspired to do. Well, if you watch film, you watch movies, whichever type of movie brings that tier of inspiration to you, that's in line with your calling. That's in line with your healing. So do more of that.
I love that.
To get you back on track.
So that sounds like, just taking in more inspirational content, more, comedic content is a way that people could strengthen their immune system. to either avoid
exactly.
or diminish COVID. Like if they got COVID, it seems like an excellent tool to strengthening their immune system.
Well, it's an internal battle that now one thing that I did, which was one of my inspirations, is I watched the Rocky movies, 1 through whatever it was back then, constantly. And I visualized myself getting beat up by my health problem, but then I always came back from it, because that was the realistic view. Not I'm always winning. That's impossible.
Right.
You can't always win, right? But if you understand the balance, that there is, the tide comes in, the tide goes out, then that's a more realistic point of view, and you can embrace that more effectively. But with the gut health, you've got to watch what you're putting in your system. You need the enzymes. You need, to eliminate the sugar. And that's what I love about your product, is that it does that. It helps replenish without all the sugar. I mean, you walk through the aisles and everything is loaded with sugar. I mean, I'm in a candy store when I go in there and look at the juices and the protein bars and so forth.
Yeah, and alcohol sales are up really high right now, and I know that people are leaning into some of their crutches and some of their coping mechanisms that maybe aren't the healthiest for the immune system. I know that when I drink alcohol daily, or even every other day, if I'm taking in more than a couple drinks a week of alcohol, I can tell that my immune system begins to go down. I can tell, I start to develop symptoms that are concerning for my delicate immune system, with underlying autoimmune. I can tell a difference whenever I take in alcohol. You think that it would support your nervous system, but alcohol does not support your nervous system, does it, Doc?
Well, the thing is that, everyone's different in terms of how far do they want to go, right? How far down the rabbit hole does somebody want to go with health and healing? I see people that absolutely will not give things up, and they would rather, be in a health crisis than to give up one vice or whatever it may be. So everyone's different. It's like having a team. You have, say, on a softball team, baseball team, you have 9 players. Do you want all 9 players on the field, or do you just want 3? You want just 1? You want as many as you can get on there, close to 9, so that you can play the game and give your system a fair chance to battle it. But Absolutely. If you throw in all these vices and you don't integrate and eliminate, you end up with a strong health challenge.
Yeah. So
but I want to repeat. I want to repeat the one thing is the public has to stop equating this virus with death. That's the problem. It's unfortunate that people die every year. All right. Look at the past years of the flu. Well, I know there's a knee-jerk reaction. This isn't the flu. Well, it's not a standard flu because our immune system has no memory of what's going on because it's brand new. But the thing is that look at the stats, look at the numbers of the past, and you'll be surprised, and you'll have a little bit more balanced thinking with what's going on.
Because what you're saying is that the people that are dying are ones that already have compromised immune systems more so than healthy individuals.
Right.
Is there anything that the healthy individuals can do to strengthen their immune system to avoid COVID or diminish COVID if they did come in contact with it? Because they're saying that a lot of people are walking around without symptoms. So, it sounds like your genetic makeup must have something to do with how you're being affected by COVID. In addition to what you're mentioning with underlying conditions or already suppressed immune system, it sounds like there's more at play here than just, the virus attacking the weak. Can you speak to that a little bit?
I think we're going to be, as the testing increases, of course the numbers are going to increase because I feel a lot of people have already experienced it but didn't know it. And so, when you see there, so many more have it. Well, let's look at how many have recovered from it, or how many didn't even know they had it. See,
Right.
Those numbers are the other half of the equation that are not being released because there's no fear or panic in that. Fear and panic sells, we know that, okay? But we've got to look at things in perspective. And again, you've got to eliminate your exposure to these areas. But if you're healthy, you know what you need to do. If you need help, there are so many doctors in everyone's city where they live that understand and know what to do. And they can give you a step-by-step program. They can tell you where to go with it because, there's a process, right? And the process is easier if you are already healthy, which is a nice thing about it.
Yeah. So it sounds like if there's anything that all of us really can be doing is, meditating, working on our mindfulness practice, and staying away from toxins, and the toxins come in the form of toxic thoughts fundamentally. So, I just wanted to mention
the toxic thoughts are in there. Yes.
I just
and
wanted
air,
to,
food, and water.
Absolutely. And you had mentioned that the immune system really starts in the nervous system, where, a lot of people tend to think that the immune system starts in the gut, but that's kind of overriding what it is that you're talking about here. You're basically saying that the immune system begins in the nervous system fundamentally. Am I getting that right?
Yes. And, most of the immune system is in the gut. However, the brain has to tell the body what to do.
Ah.
So if there's a breakdown in communication between the brain sending signals to other parts of the body, including the gut, and then the body sending signals back up to the brain, it's that loop. Mm-hmm. Then you have the energetics of the body, which is known as the meridian system, right? That's Eastern medicine. If those are imbalanced and they go through the gut, they go through the heart, they go through the lungs, those meridians course through these other areas, then you can have pathology show up as a result of the imbalance. So there's different angles. And again, sometimes you may need some assistance with it, and it's available. Dr. Google, is good for directions, and maybe you want to find out the history of something and so forth. However, an action plan is specific to each individual. Everyone's different. There's not just a cookbook menu for, your diagnosis. That's not how Eastern medicine works.
Well,
I see on blood tests that people have different deficiencies. No two people are alike. Mm-hmm. And that has to be addressed individually.
What about a vaccination whenever it's made available? What do you expect will happen with that?
So eventually the vaccine will come out, and the general public will have a sense of relief because they're looking for that external assistance. And people should not sit around and wait. They should take an action step now. When the vaccine does come out, then a decision has to be made, right? A person should look at both sides of the coin. They should look at the pros and the cons, and if they want to get it. Now, some, depending on who the leaders are in each particular state, they may be required to get it, or they may not. It may be optional, right? And then there's going to be, are you going to be allowed to fly? Are you going to be allowed to get on a plane, go into an event if you have not been vaccinated? So these are things that are going to come out, and people are going to have to make a decision.
Will they actually, do you believe that they will actually show and tell people what is in the vaccination besides the COVID? Because I know that a lot of vaccinations, especially the ones like I was given minimally as a baby, probably contain some dangerous heavy metals that you spoke about at the beginning of our call. Should healthy people or, people like me, I consider myself pretty healthy, even though I have what's known as an underlying autoimmune condition. I don't know if I would want to take the risk if there was aluminum or mercury in that vaccination. How will we find out what's in the vaccination? And I mean, is it something you recommend?
Well, the ingredients, are generally listed for each vaccine. When you go to the site of where the pharmaceutical vaccine came from, they will list things. Where it gets confusing is sometimes they'll change the name of something. there are two schools of thought and say, oh, well, the mercury, the thimerosal, is being eliminated, and they understand there's been a problem with that. So, but the aluminum is in there to irritate the immune system. Now, the response is, well, it's not that much aluminum. Then you have the other side of the coin that says, well, any amount is not good. Okay, if you're immunocompromised and you're given this type of vaccine or what have you, is that going to be a problem? These answers will be discussed as time goes on. Because I don't like to speculate in terms of what they're going to do, because there's so many variables right now. But a person should make a decision based on what they want to do. Okay, because you're told so many different things and you're pulled in so many different directions, and freedom of choice. That's what I'm about, is being able to choose. Now, if you're sequestered or you're quarantined because you didn't make a certain choice, then that may be some of the repercussions that occur as a result.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like talking to your health professional about this as time goes on is probably going to be one of the additional sources of support that folks should consider. So how would they find you? I know you have a website, draristotle.com, and you're in Beverly Hills, California. Could people go through your website and perhaps schedule a virtual session?
Yeah, I do virtual, all over the country, all over the world, in terms of people wanting to answer questions, education, what direction. Just go to the website and everything's on there, or just Google Dr. Aristotle Beverly Hills and it'll show up. I do a lot of tips. I do a lot of free types of integrative ideas and thoughts, things I do in my practice, things that I teach patients. So that's a good way to get involved.
Excellent.
Really want to get started.
Excellent. So the takeaways here that I'm hearing in regards to immune health and COVID would be that immune health begins in the nervous system. We need to take responsibility for our own individual nervous system by paying attention to our thoughts and practicing more mindfulness and meditation techniques, and also be aware of the toxins that are coming in the form of alcohol, sugar, other forms of toxic things that come in our environment. Is there any other takeaways that you would like to mention here, Doc, before we wrap up?
So something to remember, definitely, is that, our genetic makeup, the human body was built for challenge. Okay? That's what we were made for. We get through these things, all right? So it's not something that happens system. Remember that if there's no challenge, then we literally just wither away. When you take a cell and you put it in a petri dish, if you don't challenge that cell whatsoever, it shrinks. It becomes weak. But if you challenge it, it becomes stronger and it's able to survive. Now, too much challenge without support, well, it's just like raising a child. If you're constantly giving the child too much challenge, well, then they can, they have more chance of breaking down. But if you give them challenge, they'll find support somewhere, even if they don't get it from the parent. If you've ever noticed, anytime you're challenged with something, you're being supported someplace else. You just have to look for it.
Oh, definitely. Right. And I feel like both of our practices and both of our life missions have resulted from, being taken out with autoimmune conditions and then rising up like the phoenix to, support others that are going through similar challenges. So, I think both of our practices are testaments to that challenge breeds opportunity. So, I hope that folks can really hear what you're saying and understand that even though this seems like maybe the worst thing that's ever happened to certain people in their life, that is a beautiful opportunity and possibility for growth and transformation. So that's a beautiful ending.
Absolutely.
Beautiful ending to our call today. So thank you so much, Dr. Aristotle, for being on We Are the Soil. We'd love to have you back at another time and talk about the earth and the soil and the earth's microbiome and how it relates to immune and gut health on another episode. But for now, this has been incredibly informative about COVID and just, immune health in general. So thank you again for being on. And we wish you a lovely, lovely rest of your Thursday.
You're very welcome. I appreciate it. It was great. Everybody take care.
Thank you. And it's draristotle.com. Ciao.
Bye-bye.